Yes, the Julien Leclercq match against Peng Yi-song. He made breaks of 62 and 54 to start his recovery. 4-0 down was worrisome, but he got the job done in the end. Good nickname, I think, The Beast. He's a big lad, isn't he? I think it would be a stretch to say this is Beauty and the Beast, but Dave Gilbert's, his cue action is certainly a thing of beauty. And when he plays well, he's excellent to watch. It would have been a big reward had he potted that. Tough shot, though. Now all about nestling right in behind the black here. Requires a surgical touch. Might well have got the snooker, but he should have been closer to the black than that. That said, though, on these superfine match cloths, playing that kind of delicate roll-up, especially so early in a match, is quite tough.
Miss David Gilbert. Dave.
We do have 8 matches around the arena in this session. Anthony McGill takes on He Guoqiang. 2 veterans go head-to-head. Anthony Hamilton against Dominic Dale. Jordan Brown takes on Jamie Clark. They're good friends, those two. It's an all-Chinese clash between Liu Haoshan and Zhu Se, compiler of a 147 break already in the championship. Matthew Selt faces Dylan Emery. Jamie Jones is up against Jiang Jun. And Gary Wilson, who in a few weeks' time defends the Scottish Open title. He tackles Zach Surety.
Yeah, it's a big day, isn't it? Because, of course, tomorrow and Thursday we have the final qualifying round, the 2 Judgement days. So to be involved in that and the chance to get to York will be huge. Right now, though, this is a real standoff. With Reds where they are in the middle of the table, you wonder how this will be resolved. There's only 5 points in it. It's not impossible it'll be a re-rack if they just keep tip-tapping. There's no great incentive for either to sort of break the deadlock. If Gilbert was 40 in front, that'd be different, I guess. year it's been for Belgian snooker. Of course, Luca Brissell winning the World Championship, Julian making strides himself, getting into that shootout final. Ben Mertens had some very good results, beat Sean Murphy earlier this season. So, great place for snooker right now. Okay, slight change here. Playing the safety to the baulk cushion. Just ending that little impasse.
The trait of Gilbert, the tendency, he always likes, if possible, to be attacking. He's tempted.
Yeah, Gilbert, I'm sure he'll be wary today. They've never played before, but he'll know that this lad's got a growing reputation. Still, obviously, improvements to be made for Leclercq, but he's definitely dangerous. He's got a pretty imposing way about him, hasn't he? A little fortunate there with the double kiss. Just holds his hand up.
I would never criticise anyone for playing quickly and rhythmically, but I think on certain occasions, and that was one, Leclercq doesn't take quite enough time.
Well, that's maybe something he will learn as he goes on. It's his second year on tour. The end of season rankings as they stand now is 63, so he's in the cut-off to stay on tour, but it's going to come down, depending obviously on results throughout the season, but most likely to the World Championship, which is the biggest points of them all. But it'd be great for him if he could, you know, be in the 50s by then and not be sort of sweating on his tour card. It'd be a great shame, obviously, if he were to drop off.
Well, he's got chances to add to his points total, obviously, with this match. He takes on Andrew Higginson in the first round of the shootout. And just before Christmas, he plays Si Wei in the last 64 of the Scottish Open.
Well, once again, do please get in contact and let us know your thoughts on this match, on the whole qualifying itself, and any other matters that interest you. And you can do so various means, but Twitter's probably the best. Some say X. You can contact at WeAreWST on there, at WeAreWST, or myself at Dave Hendon. That's at Dave Hendon, and let us know any thoughts on maybe a few upsets today, who's going to make it through, who you're looking forward to seeing in these qualifiers. And I guess most importantly, where you're actually watching in the world. Do we have people in Belgium, for example, watching this right now?
Not the kind of start we anticipated with these two. Look at these reds in unconventional positions. But if someone gets in, there's a reasonable amount of points there. Maybe not in the segment of the table we normally expect. And the person to get in is Dave Gilbert. One of the best aspects of his game, Dave, break building.
Well, very much so. He's actually on the all-time list of century break makers. He's made 372, so he's 19th on that list. So he's in the top 20 in terms of sheer number of centuries. Made the 147th 147, didn't he, at the Championship League a few years ago. So yeah, this is where you would expect Gilbert to make hay. Let's see though. It's frame one. It's for snooker players. It's quite early in the morning. Let's see if he's sort of zoned in
Set.
from the off here. I wonder if the Tamworth Massive are up yet. It's quite early for them, maybe. That's his group of supporters, of course.
Here's a good question. Don't know the answer. What was the earliest 147? I remember Peter Ebden making one at 10 o'clock in the morning, first frame, many years ago. We don't get many 9:30 starts, though.
No, I mean, the early days of the Crucible, they used to start at 11, and they used to regard that as early, you know, because snooker was so associated with being played at night. Obviously, these are best of 11, so, you know, 10 o'clock might be considered early, but to get fit all the matches in, or try to, they're starting at 9:30.
Another interesting question. What was the earliest ever start on the Pro Tour? I can remember the China Open held in China one year, and poor old Dennis Taylor, he battled very late into the night, in fact early into the morning, to beat Tony Chappell in the semi-finals, and then had to play Stephen Hendry the next day at 9 a.m.
Nice. I don't need to ask who won.
No. Hendry very convincingly.
Well, Gilbert's been patient in terms of getting into this frame. Now it's a chance to kill it off. He won't need all the awkward reds. Although, of course, whenever you get reds down the bulk end of the table, you end up taking the smaller colours. So you are going up in smaller increments than normal if you're around the pink and black. But as long as the balls are going in the pockets, it doesn't really matter.
One of the best breaks of this ilk I ever saw, Fred Davis at the Crucible in the late 70s. The three high-value colours were out of commission, and he just basically worked around what Ted Lowe would call the little fish.
31.
Yeah, you get these questions, don't you? Know what's the smallest possible total clearance, but it always ends up a ludicrous answer about all the reds are potted in one shot, which of course is not possible really.
Yeah, and the minimum at snooker rather than the maximum, which would be
36.
15 reds, 15 yellows, and all the colours, that would be 72. We're still waiting for that, Dave, and I think we're going to wait quite some time.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the only way you would see that is if the yellow ended up on the black spot somehow, or around that area, so you was somehow forced to take it, because otherwise, why would you? Unless you were just trying to prove some bizarre point. Anyway, Gilbert's going about this pretty well so far. He's controlled the cue ball nicely, and as I say, doesn't need all the awkward reds here.
43. No. 15.
Nice solid start. This first half century on the match. And this red will leave Julian Leclercq requiring snookers.
One of those players, Dave Gilbert,
62.
who's aesthetically pleasing. That languid, rhythmic cue action. new territory for Gilbert. He's never played
63.
Leclercq before, but he knows full well what he's capable of. And it looks as though Dave has come in here sharp.
I think any match you want to start well, don't you? Lou Heischen has done that, by the way, against Xu Se, the maximum man. 104 the break from Lou Heischen.
71.
Very nicely done. We may see a century here now.
75.
Well, maybe not.
Just 3/4 of a century, but that's always good enough to win a frame. Dave Gilbert makes a very agreeable start. He leads Julien Leclerc by 1 frame to 0. Now this is an important match for Dave Gilbert. I've just been working out on the 1-year list where he stands in terms of qualification for the World Grand Prix. He's 21 at the moment with all points added in from this tournament. So he's looking good. I reckon if he were to win today, he would definitely be in that event and making a return to this very same venue, the Morningside Arena, in mid-January. Those Players Series events are terrific. Tickets, of course, still available in early 2024. We've got the World Grand Prix here in Leicester. The Players' Championship goes to Telford, a former home of the UK Championship, Dave. And then the culmination of that Players' Series, one of the finest tournaments, the Tour Championship. It goes to a fantastic venue in the heart of an amazing city, Manchester. Tickets for all 3 of those events on sale now. Just go to wst.tv and all of the details will be there for you.
Kevin Dabrowski is our referee. Read a couple of comments already. Darren Harris said, do you and Phil ever find yourselves feeling sorry for players when you have competitions in places like China? They get knocked out in the first round as they get nothing for it. Can be quite harsh. Well, it can be, but I guess that is sport. Round 1 of every event, there's no prize money. Apart from the shootout, oddly enough, you get 250 quid there. But players who have their matches held over to China, they do get expenses. So they do get it covered to an extent. Kelly Barker says it would be good to see Dave Gilbert back to some good form and at least reach the final stages. He's a match for almost anyone on his day. Snooker is all the better for having him play well. Yes, he's great to watch, I agree, Kelly, when he's in good form. And he has fallen back a little in the rankings, 28, because, of course, he won that Championship League 2 years ago. And in the summer, those points came off. 33,000, wasn't it? So that did affect his ranking. He has been in the quarterfinals this season of the Northern Ireland Open in Belfast, but obviously the points coming off on the 2-year system have had an effect on his ranking. But I agree. I think, you know, you look at him play at his best and you think, yeah, he could definitely go deep and win tournaments. Definitely good enough.
Well, for quite some time, he was regarded as the best player not to win a world ranking event. He put that to rights here, actually, beating Mark Allen 3-1 in the final of the Championship League in 2021. Now the mantle of being the best player waiting to win his first ranking title, definitely with Jack Lazowski. And it's weighing heavily, it seems. Yeah, there are so many wonderful fans of snooker who are deeply invested in the sport and come to a lot of events, and Kelly Barker is one of those. Very knowledgeable indeed.
Well, there were big numbers yesterday from all around the world. Thanks for joining us, and of course the drama of Judgment Day. Rob Walker will be here to give it the big one, as he would say, with Ken Doherty. Unless Ken, of course, quite gets through to Judgment Day, then we'll have to think again. But at the moment, Ken, if he doesn't beat Chris Wakelin, he'll be here doing the studio with Rob tomorrow and Thursday. We'll be following, jumping around the 4 tables, bringing you the best action from each of them.
Well, with Rob, he probably literally will be jumping around the tables. And if you're here in Leicester watching the action, you'll probably hear him before you see him.
Well, Leclerc duked it out in the little safety battle, which he ultimately lost to Dave Gilbert, who made 75. But this is his best scoring chance so far. He actually made his highest break as a pro this season, 139, 139 in the English Open. And his best run in a ranking event this season, last 32 the British Open. I think it goes without saying he'll have taken great inspiration from Luca Brissell, but also there's a kind of interesting rivalry, I think, with Ben Mertens. I'm sure it's a friendly rivalry, but, you know, they each want to be doing well, and they'll look at one another's results, and that'll inspire both of them. They actually played each other in the World Qualifying last season, which I guess was a bit unfortunate for the two of them to meet in a tournament like that.
I can tell you Matthew Selt has made a flying start. With an 84 break, he took the first frame from Dylan Emery. And he's going nicely in the second as well. Gary Wilson off and running, taking the first against Zach Surety.
38.
Yeah, I mean, there's some dangerous names lurking about, aren't there, who could qualify. You know, you look at Jordan Brown, who's playing Jamie Clark, is actually a frame down, but of course Jordan was in the semi-finals
39.
of the last rank event, a huge one in China, the Tianjin, the International Championship. So, you know, he'd be a dangerous qualifier. Played Mark Allen, actually, didn't he, in the first round last year, which was a bit unfortunate again for the two of them.
Yeah, and the way this structure works, Dave, as you well know,
46.
the top 16 seeds, yes, they avoid qualifying, but they go to York knowing if they lose their first match, they get 0 ranking points. So in that contest, there's an awful lot of pressure, and they're playing guys who are well warmed up.
Absolutely. It's like the World Championship, isn't it? Exactly the same, really. Although, invariably, although you get upsets, most of the seeds do still win. How many? We'll see. But anyway, it'll be exciting to see the draw on Thursday. It'll be between sessions. So after the afternoon session here on Thursday, about 4:30, 5 o'clock, we'll be making the draw for York. Now then, Leclerc, a little crossroads in this frame, just one more loose red. So needs to find an angle on the next shot to get into them, but firstly he's got to pop this red.
52.
Well, it looks pretty good.
Yes, Gilbert has one last hope that this split of the pack doesn't work.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I mean, they haven't all come into play, but it doesn't need them all. A couple of reds with colours should do it. This is a great riposte from Leclerc. Very lively start to this match. Well,
61.
yeah, he's still got the blue, but he just put himself under it a little bit here. Kind of fancy him to get this, but he hasn't. So the frame's not done yet. Still 75 on, 61 the lead.
When he gesticulated there about his lack of position or lack of perfect position, that made me concerned for the blue, and lo and behold, he did miss it. Gilbert would love to clear up. It could set the tone for the whole session.
So this is the big shot. And what a great shot he's played there. Look at that. All the reds in play. So Dave Gilbert with a great chance now.
16.
Blue, I guess, a little awkward. It's potable where it is, but brown to blue could end up being the key shot here. The brown, again, not in ideal position, I guess.
17.
Can't see any problem with the reds.
No. Leclerc will be sitting there a little fidgety. He's got such a pleasing technique, Dave Gilbert.
31.
But of course, success in snooker depends on much more than technique.
Well, in many ways, the great careers are defined by the killer clearances. You think of John Higgins, you think of Mark Williams, Mark Selby, Ronnie, all these great players, Stephen Hendry, they've all done it. And this, he's only framed 2, but it would be a body blow for Leclerc, who
38.
looked a certainty. When he went into the reds, he didn't open them all, but he got enough out to win the frame. Then he lost his way a little bit. I think rushed that blue a bit in disappointment. He didn't really play it in a very composed way. And now we're building up to the key moment, aren't we, in this frame?
44.
The deficit reduced to 15, so
46.
Gilbert needs all of the 5 remaining colours. The blue would be easier for Leclerc because he's left-handed. But it's a problem that Gilbert is more than capable of solving. The way he's looking, I think he's slightly off this. Yeah, he's too straight on the green, really. Limited to what he could do in terms of getting on the brown. Leaving the brown itself, that's no issue, but from brown to blue will be tough now. Absolutely superb.
Yeah, this has been very, very impressive. He was always going to be about brown to blue. He played a great shot, confident pot on the blue as well. He needs pink and black for a real steal.
64.
And he's shown real steel to do it. Last season, Julien Leclerc was the Rookie of the Year. I think he made a rookie mistake there. Took the blue too quickly, as Dave said, and boy, was he made to pay. David Gilbert looking very good indeed. The first frame was agreeable for him. The second frame, well, it was priceless. That will knock Leclerc back, no doubt. 2-0.
The main event, of course, starts on Saturday. There are still some tickets available. A lot of sessions are sold out, but there are some tickets available from just £22. Remember, for the first time in York, there are also VIP packages available from the quarterfinals onwards, including 3-course meal, the best seats in the house, photos with the trophy, a lot more besides. Check out, not only for the UK Championship, but for all events, the World Snooker Tour website, wst.tv/tickets. That's wst.tv/tickets. All the information for all the tournaments is there, and you can come and experience some of these events firsthand. You can see there's a few hardy souls here as well. There are tickets available for the qualifiers from just £10. And as you can see, at the moment it's not oversubscribed, so you can just turn up and get your ticket on the door and come and watch some of the qualifying action. Of course, there's a lot of matches. I mean, there's 16 players on this session alone, with 48 all told today, so there's a lot of different players. And when it all starts on Saturday, you can say, well, I know how they got there because I watched them.
Third frame.
So Gilbert hasn't really put a foot wrong yet, has he? He won the safety battle in frame 1, made 75. And when Leclercq missed the blue on 61 in frame 2, he made 71.
Dave Gilbert is a former Crucible semi-finalist. So too Anthony McGill, and he's taken the first frame from He Guo Qiang. Made a break of 59 in the first, did the Scot. What about our erstwhile commentary colleague, Dave? Dominic Dale having a new lease of life, and he's taken the opener from fellow veteran Anthony Hamilton.
Yes, we were talking, weren't we, to Dominic upstairs yesterday in the players' room, and you can just see the enthusiasm there he still has for snooker as this red finds its way into the pocket rather fortuitously for Leclercq. It's actually a good safety he played. But yeah, Dominic is definitely having something of a second wind. I think as you get older, practice can be more difficult, more sort of, it feels like drudgery, but Dominic's doing 3 hours a day, which is, I think at his age is good. 3 solid hours, good work, and then he has the rest of his day to pursue his other interests. But it's good to see him still ticking over, because of course Dominic is part of the class of 92. Obviously we always talk about the star pupils, Ronnie O'Sullivan, John Higgins and Mark Williams, but Dominic has been on the tour since 92 as well, and of course has won 2 world ranking events along the way.
Yeah, no breaks in that first frame between Dom and Hamilton. But there is a guaranteed century in that match, the combined ages. The winner of this plays either Jamie Clark or Jordan Brown. As Dave said, Clark got off to a good start, making a break of 99 in the first frame. And on the table closest to our commentary box, Liu Hao Shan has built a 2-0 lead over Zhu Se. Zhu, who made that 147 earlier in this qualifying competition. So far, he scored 13 points in 2 frames. The fickle nature of the green base.
Well, quite a full-blooded attempt. And well, I suppose if you hit it that hard, it can finish anyway. Got a reasonable cue ball, but this may be cuttable to this middle. Gilbert's had a look at it. It's a delicate little shot, this, but it definitely pots.
Yeah, the fact he's taken so much time and attention on this tells us these middle pockets are tight, but yeah, he can knock it in. The body language screams that he's on the pink, and if he is, what an opportunity to forge on. Dave was mentioning he's 19th on the all-time list of century break makers. Even a big Dave Gilbert fan, of which I'm one, would have to agree that he's not in the top 20 in terms of career achievements. When it comes to this part of the game, he's world class. Thanks, Dave. Commentator's curse, eh?
Well, that's his first real mistake all day, and we'll see how costly it is. No reason to miss that, really. Maybe the old sort of divided attention, thinking of things to come in the frame, position, whatever, but it's up to Leclercq now to take advantage of this slip-up and really make Gilbert dwell on it, because you're quite right when you talk about his sort of career, as it were. It's one of those you feel, I guess, could have been better. He's achieved plenty, but he would have wanted more trophies by now on the board, and at times it's been about controlling the emotional side of snooker, I think. What a chance this is, though, for Leclercq.
Earned his place on the tour by winning the Q Tour playoff. 16-player event that. He overcame Alex Clenshaw 5-2 in the final. And there's no doubt there's abundant potential.
You can kind of see why he thrived at the shootout, because he doesn't hang about, which is not unusual, of course, for younger players. He's shaking his head. He's still on a red here. Not the one he intended to be, maybe, but he's still going, and that's, you've got to kind of go into shots with positivity. That blue he missed in the last frame, he was still feeling bad about not being on a colour better, but he's knocked that in.
47. 52. 53.
Got to press on. He made 61, didn't he, in frame 2, and he didn't win it.
Yeah, here 39 in front. So maybe 4 pots away. The black is mathematically frame ball, then one more red, and he's home and dry.
$67. 68.
Dave was talking before about all the greats who have that ability, that propensity to punish mistakes and make their opponents feel bad. That's what Leclercq has done here. More than winning a frame, maybe
70.
it switched the emotional momentum.
75. 82. 83.
Well, he's definitely got something about him, hasn't he? Just the presence he has around the table at such a young age. He's a big lad, obviously, that helps. But he's one of those players, when he's playing his best, which he is in this frame, quite intimidating to watch.
90.
And even the nickname, you know, Stuart Bingham, he's called Ball Run, and it was given to him at a young age because he had a bit of luck in various events. I think it's a great advantage because the minute he gets a bit of luck, his opponent's thinking, there he goes again, Ball Run. Well, this is the Belgian beast. That's some name to come into the arena with, isn't it? And this has been a terrific break. This blue for his 6th century break of the season, and of course it's come from Dave Gilbert's miss. First mistake really Gilbert's made in the whole match, and it's been thoroughly punished.
104. 110.
What a prospect, what a break, and what a blow for Dave Gilbert, whose lead has been reduced very quickly. It's 2-1 now. Dave and I have been talking this morning about forthcoming tournaments and tickets and all that. Well, maybe the easiest way to go about it and to put yourself in the best position is to sign up for the WST newsletter. All the latest news from the tour, plus special offers and priority ticket windows. And during the forthcoming televised phase of the MrQ UK Championship from Saturday onwards, which you can see on BBC and Eurosport and Discovery Plus. Also, there's going to be a wealth of content on the World Snooker Tour website, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok for match clips, interviews, behind the scenes content and so much more. And the thing I think is absolutely tremendous, there's a MrQ challenge which offers the opportunity to win a new cue manufactured by the maestro John Paris.
Leclercq to break.
Well, this has been a terrific match, hasn't it? We've only been going about 45 minutes. It's already 2-1 to Gilbert. Big breaks in every frame. Leclercq joining the party there, 117 clearance. So Gilbert on notice, another elementary error, and the missed red to right corner was for him. He's going to be punished. That was a more difficult red. It's a question of when you miss it, where does it finish? Well, steady, Dave. Yeah, he's pointing at it, but the fact is, if he hadn't missed it, he couldn't have finished there. All right, he feels he's been unlucky, but the fact is he didn't pot it. He may feel the snooker gods are having their fun. He missed an easy one in the last frame. He's going to suffer for a bit. That usually seems to be how it works.
One.
But of course, he only suffered in the last frame because Leclercq made the century in response.
Six. Seven. Forty. Leclercq, 40.
Again there, he had a bit of luck, didn't he, with a white finish. So, you know, again, these things sort of, they must come into a player's mind. Suddenly, he's having a bit of running as well as playing well. By the way, this afternoon on the main table with commentary, we'll be watching Steve Maguire, who's a real form horse in the UK Championship because he's a former winner. He's up against Ashley Hugill. Been in a few finals as well, Stephen. So, of course, back to form this season as well. He ended Judd Trump's great run, didn't he? In Tianjin at the International Championship, 22 matches. Now, meantime, this red is cuttable. It's gone towards this right corner pocket. A thin clip for Gilbert.
Needs the bounce. And there it is. I think this is a vitally important frame. And to be more specific, a vitally important visit. The availability of the pink is a real plus point. Anthony McGill now 2-0 up on He Guo Kwang.
11.
Breaks of 59 and 58. Solid stuff from the Scot.
Eighteen.
Very good shot that. Not just to get on the blue, but on the right side of it.
He's definitely one of those players, and there's a few of them. You think of him as a top 16 player, Dave Gilbert. Of course, he's not currently in that elite group, but I fancy before his career's over, he'll be back there at some point.
25.
If this makes any sense, I think there are more than 16 top 16 players in the game at the moment.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, look, people like Gary Wilson, the same for Faye, they've sort of slipped out. Ding, of course, and probably the most obvious, who we saw yesterday. They're all queuing up to get in, aren't they? It's difficult. So many players, you know, have to win a tournament. That's why I think that's why Jack Lozowski actually deserves a lot of credit. He's not won one, but he's firmly ensconced in the 16. Shows how consistent he's been, going deep in events without actually winning one. Not easy to stay there without the big winners' points. Yeah, just slightly lost his way there. Finished high on the blue, so it's going to be the yellow. Well, it may not be. Maybe not much of an angle here. So, just a slight complication. It's all about getting on this next red and then he'll be away again.
As soon as he hit that last red into the middle pocket, even before the white had reached the side cushion, he knew he'd been heavy-handed.
Well, he's had a long time looking at the yellow. Still get to play a shot. Maybe a slight change of mind now. The blue to the corner, maybe. He's not sure.
Barry Hawkins was saying last week that one of the reasons why he's done so well this season, winning the European Masters and going deep in other events, he's been committed to shots. When he's down on them, he fully commits. That's what Gilbert had to do there. Make his choice and stick to it.
37.
Well, he has potted the blue and he's on the next red, so still in business here. But he's doing what Alan McManus would
38.
describe as trying to recycle the cue ball, trying to get back into ideal position. And the further, of course, it has to travel down to the bulk end and the bulk colours, the further it has to travel back for the next red, the more chance of him losing position. So this is just a little challenge in the middle of the break here to keep going. Yeah, and that's exactly what we were saying. He's, I think he can still pop this red, but it's just getting harder and harder to control things. Again, he'll be somewhere between blue and bulk colours, you would think. Well, in fact, he's held for the pink, so that's okay. I thought he was actually going to be screwing off the red, so he didn't. So he's actually in good shape now.
Yeah, clever cannon there as well, targeting the middle of the three reds. He knew if he made a full ball contact on that,
47.
he was guaranteed to continue the break. Well crafted so far, fighting effort.
Yeah, and when he sort of lost his way, he didn't get on his own case, did he? He just took a bit of time to think things through. Just sort of drag himself out of the hole, which he seems to have done nicely. So good chance here for 3-1 interval lead. It's been a bright start. Remember, Leclercq had a century in the frame he won. He could have won the second frame as well. Gilbert made a great clearance. All in all, Phil, a lively start.
Predictably lively because these two are attractive players. Good to see.
54.
So 46 in front. Very routine frame ball coming up.
61.
Yes, a very good choice, I think, this for table one.
Could we see the second century of this pre-interval mini session?
74.
Well, Gilbert's had 14 already this season. I think he needs to be playing that game. He needs to be making the breaks to have the confidence in tournaments. He maybe not as sort of adept at scrapping through as some of them. Good effort that, wasn't it? It didn't quite work though,
81.
to get on the yellow. Let's see if he can still knock it in somewhere.
No century, but pleasant viewing.
81. The frame.
Good stuff from both players, particularly from Dave Gilbert, who's made an 80-plus break and two 70-plus breaks in taking a 3-1 lead at the mid-session interval. In these race to 6 frame matches, he's halfway there. He leads Julien Leclercq by 3 frames to 1. Now, in sport, how often do records stand for 30 years? Well, in snooker, one record has. We'll see how it was achieved right now.
Ronnie O'Sullivan to rare.
good break from Ronnie O'Sullivan. A lot of players this week haven't been reaching the back cushion, but he's managed to avoid leaving the shot to nothing on. That's a bit short of pace from Stephen. And this is a half chance.
Six. 7. 12. 13. 20. 21.
'Well, you wouldn't think this was the frame that Ronnie needs to win the UK Championship. Playing this so fluently and so well. Think spot not available. It'll have to go as close as it can in direct line with this cushion. Cause only a problem. In fact, the fact that it didn't go on its spot, makes the
27.
red further up.
28.
Choices now, coming into the cluster. It's not too bad, I think he's got it ready into the left centre. Now this is a big shot. It's a good one.
36.
And now it's there for the taking. And he's made it himself.
$41. 42. 49. 50. 57. 58. 63.
So a red and a blue, or a black.
64.
The crowd know that that was the one. And we're seeing snooker history being made here. Stephen Hendry, 18 years and 9 months, was the youngest winner ever of a ranking tournament. The Grand Prix. This young man is not 18 yet. And like all great players, John, he's finishing in style. I'm sure we're going to see so much of this young man in the next few years.
Yes, that goes without saying. I'd just say, to the manner born, he's relished it.
Stephen Hendry will shake his hand. I know he admires Ronnie's play. We all do. A wonderful, wonderful exhibition by this young man.
Ladies and gentlemen,
His first
your
ever major
appreciation for
tournament, the
both
Royal
players,
Library
Stephen
Shaw's
Hendry
UK
and Ronnie
Championship, and he's
O'Sullivan.
done it in so much style. 10 frames to 6.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, right now I'd like you to welcome the presentation party consisting of Gordon Scott, the chairman of Royal Library Assurance, accompanied by the chairman of the WPBSA, Mr. John Spencer. Well, here we go then with the presentation. And first, ladies and gentlemen, to the runner-up, a cheque for £37,000, and our congratulations for another wonderful tournament goes to Stephen Hendry. And ladies and gentlemen, to the winner, a cheque for £70,000, the trophy and the title of the 1993 Royal Library Assurance United Kingdom champion, Ronnie O'Sullivan. Ronnie O'Sullivan, ladies and gentlemen. Well, right now, I'd like you please to put your hands together for a young man who's made this quite a memorable final. He's a great player. He's won 17 major titles himself, and as we ask him to leave the arena, ladies and gentlemen, your appreciation please for Stephen Hendry and the presentation party. Thank you very much indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight belongs to 17-year-old Ronnie O'Sullivan.
How about that? Spine tingling. 1 week short of his 18th birthday, Ronnie O'Sullivan defeating the king of the 90s at the peak of his powers, Stephen Hendry, to become the UK champion and also the youngest ever winner of a world ranking title. He remains so, and I think it's a record that the Rocket will retain for quite some time to come. It was an unbelievable evening. Yes, Hendry for another 5 years remained world number one. He was the man in the 90s, but I think that night in Preston he had a glimpse of the future. Anyway, from the future to the present, I've got Sam Fletcher here with me from World Snooker. Sam, tell us about what's been going on the other tables this morning.
Yes, thank you, Phil. As you know, David Gilbert leads Julian Leclercq 3-1 on table 1. Gary Wilson is 2-1 up on Zach Surety on table 2. On table 3, Anthony McGill is 2-0 up on He Guoqiang. 350s so far for McGill. Dylan Emery leads Matthew Selt 2-1. There's been 450s in that match so far. Lu Haotian is 3-0 up on Zhu Se. Zhu Se, of course, made a 147. First player to do so in the 147 Triple Crown bonus pursuit. And Lu Haotian made a 104. Jamie Clark, he's at a 99. He's 1-1 with Jordan Brown. Anthony Hamilton and Dominic Dale, plenty of experience in that battle. It's 1-1. And Zhang Jun leads Jamie Jones 2-0.
I'll tell you what, if there's ever a vacancy for reading out the classified football scores, I think you might be okay to go for it after that. Tell us about what's happening this afternoon.
Yes, thanks, Phil. Yeah, I mean, obviously, everyone watching is focusing on table 1, and of course, Stephen Maguire, lots of UK Championship experience there. What are your memories, Phil, of Can you remember him winning this tournament?
I can indeed. It was one of those events where there were an awful lot of shocks, and he was one of those who avoided them. And by the end of the first weekend, we were all saying in the press room, Maguire's going to win it, and of course he did.
Yeah, and there's lots of experience throughout that 2:30 p.m. session. Ryan Day on table 2 up against Germany's Lucas Kleckers. Chris Wakelin, who's in good form of late, didn't quite work out for him at the Champion of Champions, but yeah, he made the final. Where was that? In Belfast with Judd Trump, didn't he? He's up against Ken Doherty, who carries the experience in that one. And then we've got all sorts going on further down the tables, Phil, but I'll hand over to you.
Yeah, Joe Perry, who is another member of the class of 92, taking on Andy Lee, who had a very good 6-5 win yesterday over Sanderson Lamb. It was 5-5. They waited forever to come back on for the deciding frame. Massive pressure built up during that time, but Lee coped with it. Zhao Guodong, he takes on Mark Joyce. Joyce involved in a relegation battle at the moment, so all of the ranking points he can get, gratefully accepted. Joe O'Connor, he faces Oliver Lyons. From Switzerland, Alexander Ersenbacher, that country's finest ever player, will be up against Yuan Sejun. And Cao Yupeng, who can score with the best of them, he faces Ben Wollaston, who we saw in the second qualifying round yesterday, dispatching Ryan Thomason of Australia 6-1 with a string of high breaks. It's been good stuff so far, Sam.
Yeah, and just a reminder, of course, that tonight at 7:30, Hussein Vafai and Martin O'Donnell. Remember, you can watch live and free on WST's social media platforms, YouTube and Facebook.
Yes, also on Matchroom Live and Discovery Plus. It's great being here for the UK Championship qualifiers. All qualifying matches are very important, but I think for events such as the World Championship and the UK Championship, they have heightened importance because of the ranking points and the prize money involved.
That's right, Phil, and you know, the Triple Crown Series is such an iconic one, isn't it? All players want to be, obviously, you know, you need to be in the top 16 for the Masters, but all players want to, they're given an opportunity to qualify for the UK Championship and the World Championship. And everyone wants to be in York, don't they, particularly at this time of year. There's a nice market and a nice atmosphere in York, isn't there, Phil?
There is. It's a lovely place to go, and there are still some tickets available for this year's UK Championship. Some of the sessions are sold out. Others, though, do have limited availability, so my advice would be to book as early as you can. Tickets from as little as £22, by the way. And what about if you fancy splashing out? It's a tremendous thing, this. VIP packages available for the first time up there. From the quarterfinals onwards, you receive a 3-course meal. My kind of deal. You
Mine too, Phil, yeah.
Yeah. The best seats in the house. You get a photo with the trophy and so much more. It's been greatly improved, the hospitality in professional snooker over the years, and the Century Club at the Masters and the Crucible. That's so popular now.
Yeah, it's a wonderful addition, Phil, and I think to be able to have it in York as well, it just completes that Triple Crown. I think, you know, when it was first introduced, I think at the 2020 Masters, the Century Club, we were blown away by it. You know, the sort of VIP sofas, people able to watch not only from the front row, but in, you know, home comfort with, you know, fruit pastels and fizzy pop or whatever you fancy. On a comfy sofa. That was a wonderful addition, and of course you can also sit up, you know, in the gods and watch down from there. I'm yet to see the UK Championship Century Club arrangement, but I'm sure it will be every bit as good.
And don't forget, if you can't make York next week, what about the 2024 UK Championship? Well, pre-sale tickets go on sale on Saturday, December 2. Thanks, Sam, for taking us through the interval.
Thanks, Phil. I'll let you enjoy this one.
Yeah, Dave Gilbert hoping to continue on his merry way. Julian Leclercq, no doubt gaining encouragement from the 117 break he made to win frame 3, his only success so far. So replacing Sam to my left-hand side is Stephen Hallworth. Good morning, Stephen.
Morning, Phil. Good morning, everybody. Just watching the start of this game up in the Players' Lounge. What a fantastic start to the day. We've had signs of what's to come here at the MrQ UK Championship qualifiers at the Morningside Arena in Leicester. Fantastic standard. I thought Dave's looking like he's really hitting the ball well, but as is Julian, playing some good stuff as well. Just thought that positional shot he's played on 61 in the second or third frame, was it, when he's played up for the blue? He maybe could have played for the black. He says up in the Players' Lounge he had a bit of a kick on the blue, so can't really fault him for that. He's not done a lot wrong. Dave's playing some great stuff.
You know, at least you've fallen victim to the commentator's curse like I did. The only ball he missed before the interval, I was singing his praises, and he missed a short-range red in the third frame that led to Leclerc's century, and now you do the same thing to him. I tell you what, that is cursed. Semi-offs you can possibly see coming. That one, not so.
Yeah, the red was so thin. It was a great pot in itself, but as you say, to go in off, that is very unfortunate. I suppose the only silver lining for Dave was that he didn't leave a red.
Strictly speaking, he has left a red this time, but it's such a tough shot. Even Leclerc, who is a very attacking player, realises it's a little too tough. I can tell you, Sheriff of Pottingham, one of the great nicknames in snooker. Anthony Hamilton, he's 2-1 up on Dominic Dale. Dale won the first, didn't score a point in the second or third.
It always looked a good game on paper, this one. Both guys very attacking, like to play an open style of snooker, which is very easy on the eye. Julien plays at such pace. His average shot time must be around the 15-16 seconds, but Dave doesn't hang about himself. The clearance he's made in the opening mini session from 61 behind was a really great example of just what he can do didn't hang about when a couple of the shots needed a little bit of thinking about. Just played them as if they was over the pocket. It's a good way to play the game. Try not to build it up too much. Create any unwanted pressure.
I'm so pleased after what happened before, he didn't screw it off there. That was a fine pot. Good example of how well he's cueing.
And again, it underlines the importance of getting your cue ball into deep balk when playing safe. Julian hit the safety shot a touch thick, which left Dave with hand on the table. Someone of Dave's class is going to knock them in all day long. Strikes the ball so sweetly.
There is one hangover though from the in-off that he suffered, Gilbert. During the course of that shot, he also knocked the black very safe. With the reds as they are, how you would love to see the black on its spot. That would make life so much easier. That said though, with top-level break building, I call it the meatloaf effect. 2 out of 3 ain't bad. If you've got 2 of the 3 high-value colours available, they can work with that, the guys.
Yeah, definitely the cue ball control of the top players, and well, a lot of the professionals nowadays is pretty exceptional, and Dave is one of them. He's just played a red on the pink spot, which has sort of developed that when he eventually pots the pink. It's available into both corner pockets now, so as you've mentioned, the black is out of commission, but that won't bother him one bit at the minute. He's happy to just chip away at these open reds. There's enough in open play here to win this frame.
10. $16.
No, you can't. So what you can do, you can just leave it off, and just when you sit down, if you can.
Dave Gilbert having a logo issue. He's saying it's affecting his shots. Kevin Dabrowski, the referee, saying, well, you can't really take it off. But then Gilbert saying, well, it's proving to be a handicap. So I think the compromise was that when he finishes this break, he'll go back to his seat and reapply it.
Yeah, and he's done the right thing there, Dave. Of course, they don't like to take the logos off because it's obviously promoting the sponsors, but at the same time, Dave's out there to do a job, and when the logos aren't actually stitched onto the waistcoat, just stuck on with the tape, sometimes when you come through and deliver the cue, it can just catch it. It's kind of in the position of
20.
where your grip hand finishes the shot at the chest, and it just catches the logo. It doesn't necessarily make a difference to the shot, but I think you feel that sometimes if you're going to catch it, you may just throw a quick one in, and that's the reason he's taking it off.
26. 27. 33. See.
So impressed with Gilbert today. He's made a couple of mistakes. Generally speaking, though, I think he looks in terrific form.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you, Phil. He definitely looks not just in a great place with his game, but he just looks in a good place in general. Sometimes he makes some clear, examples of that. He's not maybe feeling at the races. Sometimes he can let his emotions get the better of him. You can tell that he's quite in the zone at the moment. It looks like he's got a little bit of a soft focus out there, which I think is the perfect state to be in. He's in the zone, he looks like he's enjoying himself, he's hitting the ball nicely, just happy to crack on with things.
And because it's been a low scoring frame, even though he's only on 54, this is frame ball.
54.
When we talk about frame ball, the terminology is basically the red or the colour that leaves your opponent requiring a snooker. The effective frame ball, well, it's plus 1 or 2 from that.
Yeah, and it's so important to make sure of those final couple, because you just know your opponent's going to carry on. It can prolong a frame unwantingly, really. You want to just crack on with the next frame, and sometimes they can just drag out. So Dave doing the right thing, just really focusing his mind and getting the final few balls.
68.
Just helps so much with the rhythm of play as well. Dave's a very fluent player, as is Julien. Neither of them really want to be bogged down in a safety exchange on trying to get snookers. Just get straight on with the next frame, keep your rhythm.
And there's just enough on to make a century. Unlikely, but you never know. Well, the odds have increased after that.
78.
Or decreased, I should say.
Yeah, he just looks in such good form, Dave. Everything looks like it's going to go in. He's potting balls as if they're over the pockets at the moment. That green was a lovely thin shot. Come on, Dave. Fill him up. Get the black. Well, he'll do well. Needs that white to run on. That's perfect. How well's he played that?
What a shame. It was a break that deserved a century. Nevertheless, Dave Gilbert will be highly delighted with a run of 93, his personal best so far today, and he's been the best of the two out there. He leads Julien Leclercq by 4 frames to 1. So what about the other 7 tables? Well, Anthony McGill is in charge against He Guo Qiang. He's 3-0 up. And the Chinese player requires snookers in the 4th frame. McGill has made a half century in every frame so far. We thought Anthony Hamilton, Dominic Dale, with all of their experience, might be quite a slowly run affair. That is the case. Just starting out their fourth frame with Hamilton 2-1 in front. Jordan Brown and Jamie Clark are friends, but that's put on the back burner today because they're in opposition. It's 1-1 right now. Third frame on the blue it is, up for grabs. Liu Hashan, he's going nicely against Zhu Se. He leads 3-0 after starting off with a century.
Julian Leclercq to break.
On table 4, they've arrived at the interval. In fact, they've just come back out from it. Matt Selt and Dylan Emery 2-2. Well, missing the red was always possible for Dave Gilbert, the way he played it. I think he can consider himself a little unlucky that the red has come over the middle pocket.
Yeah, and the very few small mistakes that Julien Leclercq has made in this game so far have been heavily punished by Dave Gilbert. It's very important that Julien really focuses his efforts to try and return the compliment. He's got to make these half chances count.
And the cue ball just runs on. Just finishing off the latest scores. Gary Wilson 3-1 up on Zach Surety. And it's 2-1 for Zhang Jun over Jamie Jones. Fourth frame in progress. One red left. Zhang leading by 22, so it could be 3-1 at the interval maybe.
Well, that was a big safety blunder from Julien there. I'm sure there's a red potable to middle. He was just trying to clip thin off, avoid the jaws of that pocket. That was a massive misjudgment. If Dave's straight on this red, he can possibly come back for the black. May have a touch of angle, which is why he was just over that left side of the table, having a look where to lead the cue ball. This is half a chance. Yeah, very nicely played. That's another really nice shot from Dave. He had to generate plenty of power through those couple of reds to try and get back on one of them. Played it nicely.
You know, when John Higgins lost to Mark Allen, the eventual champion, in the semi-finals of the Champion of Champions last week, it was 2-2 at the interval. Then Allen pulled away to 6-2. Afterwards, in a post-match interview, Higgins said that for whatever reason, after the interval, he just couldn't see the patterns of play. One of the things that always strikes me about Dave Gilbert is that when he's in the balls, he sees the pattern of how to best build a break. Maybe he's not one of the best tactical players in the game. When it comes to compiling high scores, he knows how to go about it.
Yeah, and I think a lot of professionals are similar in that respect. You can see the shots very quickly, but a lot of the times players try and almost talk themselves out of specific shots and try and look for problems. Dave's doing quite the opposite. As you say, he's seeing the patterns early on, he's getting down and he's just playing it. He's got a very nice rhythm around the table at the moment, and that's why he's playing so well and scoring heavily, because that's the key at the end of the day. If you can't score heavy like Dave is doing now, there's only so far you can go in this game. The best players in the world, they score every time. So important. It just freezes your opponent out as well. You know, Julian hasn't really done anything wrong. He's played a couple of loose safety shots, but he's been bang under pressure from the word go here today. Dave has punished every little mistake he's made, and it's just sending a message out to him that if you do make a mistake, I'm going to punish you, and that's exactly what's happened. A little angle on the pink here is perfect. He can just push another red into open play, may even develop the path for another if the pink doesn't respot, which will be enough to win this frame.
In the previous round, Julian Leclercq came back from 4-0 down to beat Pengyi Song. But if he falls 5-1 adrift here, that would be a monumental task. Especially, as Stephen has said, with the way that Gilbert is playing.
Well, he's chose to go into the cluster of reds there. Can't blame him for that. It could have ended up a little bit nicer for him. He is on one of the reds, but it's very thin, and he's going to be bridging over a couple of reds as well. So this is definitely missable. That's why he's just taking an extra second now, just looking at all his options. He's going to have to commit to this one. Yeah, very nice. Great pot.
60.
No hesitation, playing the brown would have liked the cue ball to have avoided the pink. This is frame ball. He won't be staying here in Leicester. He's from Tamworth, which is nearby. So the drive home today looks like it's going to be one of contentment. Things can turn around, of course. Right now, though, if you pardon the pun, Gilbert in the driver's seat.
68.
Stephen Hallworth didn't pardon the pun, by the way.
No, but you're right, this is fantastic stuff from Dave. And it's another name that, you know, come the weekend, if Dave's in the hat for the draw of the final stages at York, playing like this, none of the top 16 players will want to play Dave. He is a terrible draw if he gets through.
David Gilbert, 69 and a frame.
A break of 69, more than sufficient for David Gilbert to take a 5-1 lead. Looking very good indeed. If you're just joining us, he made earlier breaks of 75, a 71 clearance from 61-0 down in the second frame, and then other contributions of 81 and 93. It's been top-class stuff. Now then, just going back to that Jamie Jones Jiang Jun match, well, it is 3-1 to the rookie from China. Jamie Jones last month was announced as one of 2 ambassadors for the Jessie May charity, together with Kyron Wilson. If you're going to the Barbican Centre in York for the tournament proper starting on Saturday, well, look out for the people in purple. They're wearing purple t-shirts. It's the WST's charity partner, the Jessie May Children's Hospice at Home, who do wonderful work for children with life-limiting conditions. So please support them with your donations up in York and at tournaments around the country. Also, by the way, some news about the latest Snooker Club podcast that will be available to you. It's a fortnightly deal. The next one comes out on November the 27th, which is next Monday. Stephen Hendry and Mark Watson, together with a special guest, will be discussing all things snooker. I think Stephen Hendry on his YouTube channel and on the podcast does a fantastic job of popularising snooker and making it a little more accessible. You know, when he was playing, he was very dour. He was one of those players who concentrated so hard. Yeah, he did his media commitments, but he was a player first and foremost, a winner first and foremost. Now, though, as a commentator, a pundit, he's got very firm opinions. I fully respect him for those. And on the podcast and on his YouTube channel, he does great work.
Yeah, I agree. It's quite nice to see, you know, someone like Stephen Hendry, obviously a legend of our game that, as you say, for so long he was a very firm winner and quite stern, you know, he would never give much away, but to see him sort of relax a fraction and you know, he does all his podcasts and the YouTube channel, it's great to see. It shows a different side to him and it's very good for the game.
Gilbert to break.
Here, are we going to see a quick conclusion? Dave Gilbert hopes so. He's experienced enough to know that no lead is entirely safe. You do occasionally see a 5-1 deficit overturned in a best of 11.
Yeah, it's difficult to see how that's going to happen this morning. Don't get me wrong, I'd love to see a comeback, but the way David Gilbert is playing at the moment, you just feel he's going to get at least one chance in the next 5 frames. And it's going to be enough for him to get over the line in this game. The way he's played so far, he's given us no reason to believe otherwise. Julian has just got to keep doing what he's doing. Try and stick in there, stay with Dave. Try and put him under some pressure when he can. Maybe force the odd mistake out of him, but then it's about what he does with those mistakes when he gets the chance.
Oh dear, Gilbert out of his chair very quickly. Wants to put the lid on this at this visit. As for Leclercq, he lumbered back to his chair, looking quite disconsolate. There's lots of little phrases and adages in snooker, one of which is that the last frame is often the hardest to win. Gilbert hoping that's not the case here.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of a puzzle to solve here because that black is tied up somewhat at the moment. There's a couple of reds that, should he get on them, will unlock that little puzzle, but for the time being, just happy to play up for the blue. He played that very nicely, couldn't have put that any better with his hands. The obvious red is the red at the bottom of the table. If you can get rid of that at some stage. The 2 reds next to the pink as well. One of them just to the right of the pink will open the pink up and the pink spot. There's always a few balls you're looking to try and remove as quickly as possible just to open things up.
When you think in 2011, Gilbert came within a whisker of quitting the professional tour. He'd been relegated, he went to Q school. Back then there were 3 tournaments.
22.
He didn't get through the first 2, but he did the 3rd. Four years later, he reached the final of a ranking event for the first time at the International Championship in China. And ever since, he's been one to watch. Classy.
Yeah, I know a lot of the guys that I practice with. I've never played with Dave myself, but A lot of the people that do never heard a bad word about how he plays. You know, he can go sets on end without really missing a ball, and that shows you how good he can play. But obviously we can see it here. We all know how good Dave is. He really does have one of the best cue actions on the tour for me. He hits the ball like an absolute dream. And then we see already in a few shots, doesn't look anything special, but what he's done is he's unlocked the frame now. It's become a frame winning chance. A few shots he's had to play up for the blue that he's absolutely hit perfect. He's landed topside every time, which makes break building so much easier. But now he's opened the pink spot. The black spot is slowly becoming developed as well, slowly building a lead. This is a great chance.
He's been to the semi-finals of the Masters, the semi-finals at the Crucible.
36.
That was in 2019 when he beat Joe Perry, Mark Williams and Kyron Wilson. In fact, of course, came within a frame of making the final. He made all the running against John Higgins, but in the end was pipped 17-16 and was very emotional afterwards.
He's just lost the cue ball a touch there. He had to play a delicate little holding cannon to the pink. That had to be perfect. Would have loved to have hit the left side of the pink as we looked at it. He's hit the right side, so he's out of position, just a safety shot. Big target in behind yellow.
And what that tells us is that if he does win this frame, it will be the first of the day which he hasn't won in a single scoring visit. What a cracking pot that was. Another required here, mind you.
Yeah, that was a great red, and he can play this black in such a way that he can play it in or over the pocket. If he does miss it, he won't leave the red. Oh, he's potted it anyway. That's another great shot from Dave. There's no pressure on that, really. He was always going to be on this red if the black dropped.
And now that it has, the end appears nigh.
Yeah, he's just got to be a little bit careful here with his control of the cue ball. Just needs to play one good positional shot. He's just looking exactly where that white is going to come off that cushion. Doesn't want to be too cute with this one, just try and get nicely on a colour.
Oh my God.
That wasn't his fault. The table ran off there perceptibly.
Gilbert, 8.
Have we just seen an extraordinary turning point? You actually saw the white go.
Yeah, that's gone a country mile, that one. It's not very often you see that.
And I'll tell you what, if Leclercq can win this frame, it's just the way snooker players think. Gilbert will be thinking, hold on a minute, if I lose this, I'll never forgive myself.
Yeah, and a few moments ago, a very dejected looking Leclercq in his chair, and he couldn't have got out of it any quicker. But again, he's got to take this chance. He has to take this chance.
Inadvertently knocking a red towards the side cushion doesn't help.
16. $21.
Needed an angle on the black. Doesn't look as though it's there.
Leclercq, 29.
Right now at the top of Dave Gilbert's wish list would be a colour going safe. Everything's there for Leclerc to salvage the frame and stay alive. Obviously the two reds together are in Gilbert's favour, but that means he has to play a two cushion flick off the red, which he doesn't pull off. Didn't want to disturb those two reds. Always the danger when you miss that shot narrow in the first place, you over adjust and hit it too thick second time around.
Yeah, and he'll be looking for any sort of angle on a colour here to try and disturb or get in behind those reds. And from his body language there, it doesn't look like he's going to have it.
Green ball.
Well, he's played that green out of a bit of frustration, it seemed. He played a pretty quick one there. It was quite a big shot.
Let's face it, there's still quite a lot of raw edges on the game of Julien Leclerc. He's got lots and lots of potential, lots and lots of ability, but A couple of times today, he's just been too hasty. Not the most telling safety shot from Dave Gilbert. He was just attempting containment, but he might have left a double here. No, keeping it tight. Quite correctly, actually. Because even though he's 5-1 in front, Gilbert will be feeling a degree of anxiety.
Yeah, he may still be feeling a little bit of annoyance from the red that drifted. He didn't necessarily have to play it that way. He could have punched it in. But that's all history now. He's got to try and get that out of his head, which I'm sure he will be. He's still in a very strong position in this game. He's got to just try and see it out as quickly as possible now.
Gilbert still hasn't got his wish about a colour being safe, but the table is a little more messy than it was a couple of minutes ago.
He's not got too many shot choices here. Can only see the thin edges of the reds. Blue and black are quite big balls in the way of returning back to baulk. He's looking at trying to find the gap between the blue and the black, which is very, very dangerous. You've got to hit that one perfect. The red above the pink, the potting angle to this right corner pocket may be close to finding the gap between the black and blue, but again, it's just fraught with danger. Well, I think he did attempt it. Got away with it.
I was saying to David Hendon a little earlier on, get the impression with Leclercq, I would never stop him playing quickly because that's his natural style, his natural rhythm. But he needs to do what Gilbert has just done there. Take that extra couple of seconds, particularly on shots that require thought, the shots in a tactical exchange like this.
Yeah, and it's those types of shots that make all the difference. That was a fantastic safety shot from Dave. Well, that's a really good return from Julien, to be fair. Tap on the table, and rightly so. Ed on the side of caution there with that shot. Played to miss the red thin, which meant that he was always guaranteeing the cue ball back to balk. Julien only has a thin edge of this red now. Not that thin.
And he's left a free ball. That could be a snooker disaster.
And again, it's those little moments, Phil, as you just mentioned. Julien's probably stood behind that shot, just all he can see is the thin edge, and he's maybe not even considered, you know, if I do miss this, I'm going to leave a free ball. I highly doubt that's even come into his mind, and may have been worth just taking an extra second there, because again, it was a big shot, and it could cost him.
Should cost him. And I think given that the cue ball rolled off on an attempted pot when Gilbert was 15-0 ahead in this frame, maybe justice has been served.
Yeah, it's just a little bit of discipline required for Julien in that scenario, as I mentioned. He's just got to take that extra second and just really analyse exactly what's going to happen. Of course, you never like to think negatively out there, but in that scenario, he was having to hit that red so thin. If you do miss it, he's going to leave the free ball, which is exactly what's happened, and at least make Dave work for his chance. He's just gifted it to him.
It's a good feeling now for Dave Gilbert. He's cleared the hurdle. One more to come. He's back here tomorrow night for the final qualifying round. He's going to be the first player to win this morning. Hasn't had to wait a great amount of time for victory. And that's because he scored very heavily in beating Belgium's Julien Leclercq by 6 frames to 1. Breaks of 75, 71, 81, 93, 69 and 42. That was, from Dave Gilbert, impressive. We will see an awful lot of Julien Leclercq in the coming years. We could see an awful lot of Dave Gilbert in this MrQ UK Championship. He's looking good. So he completes victory quickly. He will have a lengthier wait to determine who he plays next. The reason for that, Jamie Clark and Jordan Brown haven't reached their interval yet. Clark leading by 2 frames to 1. It's been slow going there. 7 more matches still in progress at this Morningside Arena in the morning session. And if you want to catch up on those scores, see all of the live scores as it happens, simply go to wst.tv. As for Stephen and myself, we'll take our lunch break, but we'll be back at 2:30 for the next live action here on Table 1. It is a former UK champion from Scotland, Stephen Maguire, up against an improved player from England, Ashley Hugill. Hope to have your company then.